Teresa Moran, the district clerk. Can you hear me, David?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Wait a minute. Yes.
Good evening. I'm Teresa Moran, the district clerk. Tonight we have our reorganization meeting as well as our regular monthly meeting. The reorganization meeting, we will be swearing in our officers and new board members, and we have a few resolutions to take care of in that part of the meeting, and then it will be followed by our regular meeting where we do our appointments and our regular meeting. If we could all stand to salute the flag. Roll call. Everybody is here, and we welcome our new board member, Sean Murray. I'd like to call for nominations for the. I'd like to call for
Yeah, can't hear.
I take over as soon as I'm president, right?
I'd like to call for nominations for the office of of president.
Yeah, can't.
Still no?
Up to your mouth. Up to your mouth.
I'd like to call for nominations to the office of president.
I nominate Bill Belmont.
Pat Paleski,
I second.
David Yeager, second in. All in favor? It's unanimous. Bill Belmont will be the president of the board. We need to do the swearing in now. Can you raise your right hand, please?
Terry, talk into the microphone.
Repeat after me. I, Bill Belmont, William Belmont,
I, William Belmont.
Louder. Terry, you have to speak louder.
do solemnly swear that
You want me to?
It is, Terry. It is working.
This is working. Just
Okay.
gotta talk a little louder. I know you listen. I, William Belmont,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the President of the Board of Education
of the President of the Board of Education
of the Lynbrook Union Free School District,
of the Lynbrook Union Free School District,
Town of Hempstead,
Town of Hempstead,
Nassau County,
Nassau
New York,
County, New York,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. I'm now calling for nominations for the office of the Vice President.
I'd like to nominate Leslie Danilo.
I second that.
All in favor? So approved. Can I do the oath, or it has to be by the clerk, Joe?
Yeah, it's right here.
It's right here.
Do I have to go over to it, you think? You should stand by. Raise your right hand. I, Leslie Danino,
I, Leslie Danino,
do solemnly swear that I will
do solemnly swear that I will
support the Constitution of the United States
support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Vice President
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of Vice President
of the Board of Education of the Lynbrook Union Free School District,
of the Board of Education of the Lynbrook Union Free School District,
Town of Hempstead, Nassau County,
Town of Hempstead, Nassau County,
New York, according to the best of my ability.
New York, according to the best of my ability.
I'd like to now call for nominations for the office of secretary.
I nominate David Yeager.
I second the nomination.
All in favor?
Moving on up.
That's unanimous.
Moving on up, Dave.
Mr. Yeager, this is in recognition of how well you've led us, and a salute to the flag over these many years. You could please stand up and raise your right hand. I, David Yeager,
I, David Yeager,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New
and
York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of secretary
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Secretary
of the Board of Education of the Lynbrook Union Free School District,
of the Board of Education of the Lynbrook Union Free School District,
Town of Hempstead, Nassau County, New York,
Town of Hempstead, Nassau County, New York,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
I got a point there. Yep. Not for nothing, if Leslie and Dave were gonna hold the offices, they should have been sworn in first.
See, Terry, I wouldn't call you out during Just me, Terry. That's all I want to mean. Terry, I can do all three, right?
Ellen did it, Ellen called him out.
At this time, I'm going to swear in the re-elected and new member, Leslie Danino, Dave Yeager, and Sean Murray. If you could stand up. Joe, so you're not confused when I say your name, I want you to input your name in that spot. I say your name,
I,
I,
Leslie
David Yeager,
Danino,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of trustee of the Board of Education of the
Of
Lynbrook Union Free School District,
of trustee of the Board of Education of the Lynbrook Union Free School District,
Town of Hempstead, Nassau County, New York,
Town of Hempstead, Nassau County, New York,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
It was a crazy week. I wasn't around. Only my mother and me left. You know, this week is not so bad now.
Also, we need some positions to add on for this year. So, looking.
I'm towards the end for some reason. I'm not gonna call her out.
No, she's not. The board member's first lady. She'll get her time. We're looking to have a legislative representative. Anybody on the board interested? Mrs. Danino? How about PTA council delegate? Look at you, little busy bee. Leslie Danino? How about adult education advisor? Mrs. Hanson? And diversity committee liaison? Mrs. Marcus? Also would like to appoint Teresa Moran as district clerk for the ensuing year. Further, she will be bonded under the public employee dishonesty coverage, which will not be necessary, in the amount of $100,000. Mr. Lilly, if you could administer the oath for the office of the district clerk. I mean, right? We're not going to need that bond, right? This is way too big. You know, it looks nice being here. You can't really run a meeting like this. It's just we're too far away apart from each other.
That's why you wanted to do it and not for the theater.
We're going back to the cafeteria.
I
Discharge the duties of district clerk. The Lynbrook Union Free School District. Town of Hempstead, Nassau County, New York, according to the best of my ability.
For Linda and Debbie, I'm just going to know we'll do that later. Do I have to even do that now during this meeting? Can I skip that?
I think it's supposed to.
Yes.
Okay. We are also going to appoint Deborah Sabara as the Assistant District Clerk for the year, and she will also be bonded under the Public Employee Dishonesty Coverage for the amount of $100,000. She is not present, and the oath of office will be administered another time. Additionally, Linda Gillespie will be Treasurer of the Lynbrook Union Free School District. She will also be bonded under the Public Employee Dishonesty Coverage in the amount of $100,000. She is also not present, but that will be administered. That oath of office will be administered another time. And Terry, if you can swear in, I guess I will swear in Dr. Burek at this time for the year. I, Dr. Melissa Burek,
I, Dr. Melissa Burek,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Superintendent of the Lynbrook Union Free School District,
of Superintendent of the Lynbrook Union Free School District,
Town of Hempstead, Nassau County, New York,
Town of Hempstead, Nassau County, New York,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
And I will do whatever you say. Congratulations. As we move into the end of the reorg meeting, I'd like to ask for consent agenda on reorganization resolutions 2107R1 through 2107R66. May I have a motion, please? Mrs. Hanson, second, Mrs. Marcus, all in favor? I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the consent agenda. Mr. Pileski, second, Mrs. Danino, all in favor? And that concludes our reorganization meeting. Congratulations to all. We're now going to open our regular monthly meeting. May I have a motion to accept the minutes of the June 9th, 2021 monthly meeting? Mrs. Marcus, second. Mrs. Hanson, all in favor? May I have a motion to accept the minutes of the June 30th, 2021 work session? Mrs. Hanson, second. Mr. Yeager, all in favor? We have two retirements this evening. Mr. Yeager, if you could begin with the first.
Whereas Mrs. Catherine Bolello, Senior Personnel Clerk in the Lynbrook Union Free School District, has announced her intention to retire effective September 30th, 2021, close of business, after almost 7 years of service to the administrators, faculty, and staff of the Lynbrook Union Free School District. And whereas Mrs. Bolello eagerly accepted the role of Personnel Clerk on November 17th, 2014, and later became the Senior Personnel Clerk, she approached her position with a smile, asking questions, establishing routines, and participating in training opportunities in the various programs she interacted with daily: WinCap, ASOP, New York Teach, NYSTRS, GCN. And whereas Mrs. Bolello was responsible for all information pertaining to certificated personnel and summer employees, she maintained accurate personnel records, teach account information, and NYSED reporting data, including the staff tenure report and staff assignment information. And whereas Mrs. Bolello was always available to assist employees and community members by answering questions, researching information, and providing any other assistance that was needed, she remained professional in all situations and accommodated everyone who needed assistance. All of her endless efforts have not gone unnoticed. And whereas Mrs. Bolello approached her responsibilities with the dedication and determination to work swiftly and efficiently, paying attention to details, providing assistance with a smile, She was always extending herself to go above and beyond to support the staff, parents, and community members. Mrs. Bolello was a true asset to the personnel office and to the Lynbrook School District. And whereas Mrs. Bolello was an alumna of West End, North Middle, and Lynbrook High School, a former LHS cheerleader, and the mother of 3 Lynbrook alumni children, Mrs. Bolello was ready to cheer everyone on, whether she was supporting her family at home or welcoming new staff into the Lynbrook family. And whereas Mrs. Bolello's special talent to create beautiful gift baskets and to serve as the party planner for our special celebrations has always been appreciated. Mrs. Bolello was always eager to organize and plan for special events for our Atlantic Avenue staff. Mrs. Bolello's kindness, heartfelt goodness, and friendship will truly be missed. And whereas the Board of Education thanks Mrs. Bolello for her commitment to Lynbrook schools and wishes her much happiness in her retirement with her husband Jim and their children James, Christopher, and Amanda, son-in-law Tyler, and her extended family. Mrs. Bolello will enjoy her retirement years spending time with her family, especially spending time with her granddaughter, Stella, with another new grandchild on the way. She plans to also spend some time traveling in between babysitting for her grandchildren. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Catherine Bolello for purposes of retirement.
You can ask her to stand, by the way. Mrs. Marcus?
Will Mrs. Nancy Hargrove please stand up?
You gotta talk into the mic.
Oh,
I can push it not close. There you go.
Whereas Mrs. Nancy Hargrove, Senior Typist Clerk in the Technology Office of the Lynbrook Public Schools, has announced her intention to retire after 14 years of service effective September 17th, 2021. And whereas Mrs. Hargrove has steadily served as the backbone of Technology Department through all those years by functioning as its central brain and hub of all activity. And whereas Mrs. Hargrove has been the only person able to consistently focus the attention of many an unruly tech by simply engendering their utmost respect and enduring loyalty. And whereas Mrs. Hargrove's sense of priorities in her management of the district's help desk system always mirrored the central mission of the department that student learning comes first. And whereas Mrs. Hargrove's careful attention to detail and ability to hold vendors accountable has saved the district's hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years. And whereas, as an alumna of West End, North Middle, and Lynbrook High School, and mother of 3 Lynbrook alumni children, Nancy was always willing to go above and beyond to ensure that people, not computers, were the most important aspect of the department's work, thus embodying the core ideal of Lynbrook family. And whereas we know the Lynbrook school community will miss Nancy's kindness, care, goodness, and friendship more than any technical skill she has brought to the job. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of Lynbrook Union Free School District accepts the resignation of Nancy Hargrove for the purposes of retirement effective September 17, 2021, and wishes her many hours of happiness with her high school sweetheart, Bill, their children, Billy, Matt, and Kathleen, as well as her large and loving extended family.
Congratulations. while we lose some, we gain some. We have some new staff to announce tonight. If Christopher Prasad could stand up. Math teacher and math chair at the high school. Congratulations and welcome. Nicholas Swing, if you could stand up. Elementary teacher at West End. Congratulations and welcome. Diane Leone. Congratulations, she is a new reading and special education teacher at South Middle. Also not present tonight is Caitlin Hopkins, special education teacher at Waverly Park. We actually also have another special recognition tonight, if Dr. Biar could handle.
We could not let this school year go by without recognizing one very important person who was hired just before the COVID pandemic began. And when you talk about a hiree just in the nick of time, I would think this person fits the description to a T. Who knew at that point that we were going to be doing everything virtual? We thought it was just going to be a 2-week hiatus, if you think back to what was going to happen, and it turned into more than a year of virtual meetings, a lot of recordings, a lot of videos, and by someone who was relatively new in the district and had to do a lot of training and had to learn a lot herself. So we could not let this year go by without recognizing Kayla Serpa, who has magically put together her studio in every building, in any possible room that we would need her. So Kayla, on behalf of the board and administration, congratulations. Is that Danielle? Oh, Danielle, you're over there. I never met you, Danielle, remember?
Now you have to stand up. Danielle Post, music teacher. Congratulations and welcome.
Yeah. Notice you will see how we will miss Kathy Bolello. We tried multiple times to set up an appointment for Danielle and I to meet, but in order to get her approved tonight, we just went with it.
Moving on to report from trustees. We recently held our retreat, June 30th.
Oh.
If they leave, there'll be nobody here. It is the appropriate time. It is, nobody here is going to ask us questions. It's the appropriate time now for those new staff members and those retirees to enjoy the rest of your evening and celebrate.
You can stay if you'd like, but you do not have to. We promise we will approve your resolution.
Between you and Terry, is anybody going to do a job?
It's not the first time having. Well, you were technically president.
Don't worry, guys. I'm sure there's hundreds at home watching us right now. So as we had indicated, we had our retreat on the 30th, which was a good time for us to get a sense of where we're going, what direction the district's in, to evaluate what we're doing. I thought it was a very good meeting, good communication. Any thoughts or comments from anybody on the board regarding that issue? And again, just to reiterate, the purpose of that meeting was to discuss our upcoming goals. I think the advancement we've made this year, discussing diversity and policy committees, instruction, zoning on the new apartment complexes, which you know is going to be a more contentious issue as the year goes on. So hopefully we'll just be able to continue the communication we've had throughout the year. Anybody want to talk about attendance at school events? I know 2 board members had students graduating from the high school.
Hi, I attended the graduations for the kindergarten center, for graduation at North Middle. So don't be surprised if you hear a lot of requests for that, because the parents seem to really enjoy having it right there at their own school. But it was great to see all the kids, and it just, after a very long year, it felt welcome and normal to see everybody out and see all those happy faces at the end of the year.
Now, I also attended kindergarten center graduation, North Middle, and the high school. And it had been years since I'm still working from home, so I was able to make it to the kindergarten center. I don't think I've been there since my oldest, graduated from kindergarten many years ago. And I know that it wasn't in the building like it usually is, but the kindergartners were so cute, and they didn't know any different, and they really did an amazing job. And at the end of graduation, when Mrs. Postman introduces the LHS class of 2033, I mean, it's somewhat crazy, but it was really cute. And I echo that. At North, it was very nice. The class speaker at North was unbelievable. She did not sound at all like a middle school child, the way that the content of her speech and the way that she was able to stand up there with poise, and it was unbelievable. And also at the high school, both speeches were unbelievable, the valedictorian and the salutatorian. And it was nice for all the graduations to feel normal and be normal, after the year that we've had. So congratulations to anybody that had a graduate from any of the buildings this year.
Anything else from any of the board members? Moving along to old business, we have none this evening.
I was able to attend the South middle school graduation and the high school graduation, and they were both run very well, and they were. It was a very nice job on both accounts. The one thing I will say, though, that I was most impressed with was Principal Reynes and his speech that listed all the accomplishments of the Lynbrook students over the last few years, and it was incredibly impressive, and makes you realize why the public school route is second to none, especially in a district like Lynbrook.
Mr. Pileski, can I move on now? Thank you. No old business. Under new business, the Code of Conduct for 2021 to 2022 has been reviewed by the board and will be accepted as part of the consent agenda this evening. Superintendent's report, Dr. Burek.
Good evening. Today we began 2 of our summer programs. It's nice to offer these programs again this school year. We began our summer playground. And as you know, we try to limit the attendance in order to keep some of the cohort numbers and social distancing active, but we were still able to accommodate 209 campers at North Middle School and 230 at South Middle School, and without turning people away, so we were able to accommodate everything. So they had a nice warm day today, and we had sprinklers running, I'm sure, because we're having sprinklers every day, so that kept them cool. So we hope that they have a nice, safe summer. We also began our summer high school. We're running classes in Algebra 1, Geometry, ELA, Earth Science, Living Environment, Chemistry, Social Studies, and Physical Education. There are a total of 65 students enrolled, but there are actually 76 seats taken, so there were some students who are taking 2 classes. So we're also glad we're able to accommodate those to help those students get credit for their classes. And then next week, we begin our summer academy, and we have 68 students registered for that. So we're hoping that it's a productive summer for everyone, both academically and socially. Another announcement I'd like to make shortly, if you have not already received an email from the athletic director, we just want to let everyone know that we're moving more toward electronic information, and we're going to be moving to an electronic form system. So all the physicals and everything, that is going to be moved online. I do want to remind parents, also last year we started moving the demographic information. Every summer you used to receive a letter from the principal asking you to please fill out this form, update with any demographic information, if the phone number changed or emergency contact names, and we sent that paper home year after year, and we'd get a good response back from that. When we moved digitally and we allowed parents to go through the portal, we only got 60% return. So I just want to let everyone know we're really going to do a massive push to try to get more people, because we really want to get close to 100% return for that. And we may even lead to having stations set up at the open houses and the back to school nights, so that if parents haven't done that, you know, they can log on. At this point, the parents have the account, so it's just a matter of going in. So you're going to hear me, and forgive me, I'm going to keep emphasizing, parents, please go on and update your information. Safety and security is still a main priority for us. So a couple of years ago, when we practiced the evacuation drill and the reunification drill, we had gone 5 emergency contacts deep, and that was so important because that's part of our plan. When some of the updates were made, people only gave us 1 or 2 emergency contacts. So it's still very important that we get all that information. So as we go digital, we just don't want people to lose the purpose of some of our safety stuff. We do really need all of that information. So you're going to hear me reiterate how important it is to get your information in. So you'll hear from us again. Next update is the Universal Pre-K update. I'm going to ask Dr. Lynch.
Thank you very much, Dr. Burek. So this was something we began talking about at the last meeting. The state of New York had given us about $356,000 in an allocation for universal pre-K. It's important to note that Lynbrook was never eligible for these types of funds, so we only became aware of it in April. So that's when the state adopted its budget. So what we were able to do is we have obviously, if you know our schools, you know we have no space to run a pre-K program in our schools itself. So we have the ability to go out and partner with a community-based organization. So we put out a request for proposal. We had 2 organizations respond. And right now, since it is a request for proposal and not a bid, we can actually enter a negotiation process. So we're kind of talking to the potential providers, and we hope to have more information forthcoming. We'll be doing, for example, a site visit of the potential programs, and if everything works out, we would expect the board to have an award on August 11th, the next meeting. What it will mean practically is that if we do have the ability to run a program, we'll be having a lottery for those spots. So the state of New York has given us money for 66 spots. If the providers, if with only 2 people, 2 organizations putting in a proposal, we may not be able to do all 66 spots. So then we'll have a lottery for spots, and more information will be coming. We'll get that out through our communications company, through Syntax. We'll get that into the Herald. We'll put it onto our Facebook page. We'll put that all over the place so that people will respond. Less than ideal to do it in the middle of the summer, but I just think it's where the state's money has kind of the way it all landed.
Mr. Lynch, how did they arrive at 66? Do we know where they came up?
$5,400 a student is their allocation, so they are able to. To be quite honest with you, no, I don't know exactly where they were able to come up with that number. But they have a special sauce back in Albany where they figure out what the proportion of districts are. So we're a medium-sized district. Some districts received literally millions.
Thank you, Dr. Lynch. And Dr. Belekas, curriculum update. We have summer curriculum writing taking place.
Thank you, Dr. Burek. There are several curriculum writing projects that will begin this summer. They
We're not
include
doing
elementary library,
We're not putting.
middle school science research, special class science 8, high school chemistry. All of the higher level Beyond Regions courses in Spanish and Italian, writing in the middle school English classes, and in the high school writing labs. New poetry units in both English 11 and 12. New curriculum for the special classes in English 11 and 12. A new E&L curriculum for any students who are entering or emerging, so our beginning English language learners. And the high school actually has a few new and revised high school courses, which are the personal finances course for the juniors, as well as the applied science. And the two new courses are the accounting 2 and speech and debate. Thank you.
Thank you, and back to Dr. Lynch, capital projects update.
So, in case you haven't noticed, there's some construction going on. Right now, we have 3 major projects going on. So the first major project is obviously the completion of the bond work at Lynbrook High School. We're at an interesting phase of the construction. So the new wing, right now, it's, the building is up, it's watertight, and they are in the process of, the walls are painted, the floors are going in, and they're starting to put in the casework, so that's progressing nicely. The banana wing was only recently demolished last week, and now that, if you go down that hallway, it is one big long room. So that will be being divided up into the new science labs. We also hope to have that in place by September. If you go into the auditorium, that was demolished. It was very interesting that on Mr. Pallotta's last day in the district, we put a sledgehammer through the auditorium that he had. So it was kind of almost a little symbolism there. But the auditorium will not be completed probably until January. That work still needs to take place. So that's the work at the high school. The other major work is occurring at Marion Street. So it is finally getting its elevator. They are in the process of doing the demolition there and the asbestos abatement. That will also impact 2 classrooms. We also have to redesign the nurse's office because there will be a chairlift, because if you can picture Marion Street, it's an incredibly complicated building. There's no through floor. So you actually have the elevator on the parking lot side, and then there will be a chairlift to get kids on the other side. So that's, again, a complicated job. And then in the kindergarten center, there's a new boiler being put in. So that's another major project. And then, although these are not minor projects at all, we're also replacing major floor work at West End and Marion Street. And we have the middle schools running our summer programs.
Right.
And Dr. Lynch, what's the timeline for what they voted on the turf field at North? So what's the timeline for that?
So right now, that literally was just submitted to the state 2 weeks ago for the preliminary approval. The next thing is we're going to need to get together and actually come up with a design. If all goes well, that goes up to the state. We get approval sometimes in January, February. We go out to bid in April, and hopefully we can begin install next summer.
Great, thanks.
Question about the auditorium. So the concerts obviously take place here, but the high school musical takes place in the auditorium. So are we just going to sort of flip the schedule a little bit so that the musical is in the spring?
Right, it's already in our calendar preparation. We put the musical in the spring, and we would only be running a musical next year, not a
Okay.
drama.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else, Dr. Bureau?
That's it.
Anything else from the board? At this time, we move to public comment. If anyone would like to address the board, please come to the microphone, identify yourself, and indicate whether you're in or out of district.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Smollett. I live about a 9 iron south of here on Union Place, 53 Union Place for the record. And I wanted to talk about, Dr. Lynch, the capital improvement project as it relates to the fields. Okay, and my neighbor, he's going to come up and talk next, Jimmy. But we just found out that they are now relocating, and I don't know what the term was as far as the structure goes, but where you have those 25-foot utility wood poles that was over here behind the gym, so to speak. And now we just heard, because originally we were told that's going to be a grassy open area back behind our homes. Now they're talking about moving all of that and putting in those 25-foot pylons, utility poles, back behind where our homes are now. First we've heard of it. Don't understand why they've decided to relocate it over there. We are all residential properties. We're not commercial. We're not mixed use or anything like that. We are all residential on Union Place. It's going to affect probably about at least 9 to 10 homes as you go from Carpenter, or my house next to the church, all the way up to Union Avenue. And maybe you could discuss or talk a bit about why that decision was made last minute, and we didn't hear anything about it until last week.
So thanks for the question. So initially that was where the former Project Adventure was, which also backed on other people's property back over on that side. That needed to become part of there's actually a pump there now involving moving out water, so that was actually no longer able to be used for Project Adventure. So the board discussed, I believe, in the March or April meeting, of the possibility of expanding the scope to move Project Adventure down to the former tennis courts, which had become overgrown and had been there, like in there. So with that regard, they had discussed it. We had asked for pricing at that point. It then started to move forward where we were able to get the pricing, and the change order had just been signed. So we are just really getting up to that point right now. So that's the timeline.
Okay, but I guess my question is more about, did anyone reach out to the residents as far as what we thought about this coming into our backyards? None of us got any forewarning or anything like that. I know we're not a village municipality. I'm an ex-village administrator myself, for those that know me. Normally you would give out or send out within 500 feet notification, we are doing this, it's going to affect you within so many feet. We didn't get anything. Okay, and I think that's what disturbed myself and most of the neighbors, is that things are being done, I'm not going to say in the closet, but there's no transparency to the residents that it affects. And I would at least would appreciate if the board would reconsider where they're putting these things, because it's right up against us, and we have some issues about it. Jimmy will talk about that later, but I did want to bring that up to the board, and to you, Dr. Lynch, and Dr. Burak, to maybe reconsider and or get some input from the residents, okay, that it affects over there. So would appreciate that. My second question, and I'm sort of changing who I am and what have you, I'm also vice president of Lynbrook Little League, and I had a question about the fields and the backstop over in that section over there. We were told that the backstop was going to be torn down and replaced, and now we're being told that they changed their minds and now they're going to just repaint the backstop. Will the fields still be there for the younger kids? I'm talking about the 5, 6, 7-year-olds. And will it be kept up and maintained and what have you?
Yeah, so that actually, the fact that you mentioned the backstop, when we looked at the plan, it actually was never in the plan. So that's where that came in, but that's just the backstop being affected there. So but the field itself is being replaced and will be maintained.
And it will still be grass, sod field?
Yes,
Not artificial, okay. Very good. And I just want to thank everybody for allowing me a few minutes to speak. And congratulations, everyone, for being sworn in. And we're looking forward to a new year. And we really appreciate all you do as board members. And I know what kind of job it is. And I know you're not appreciated all that much either, but I do appreciate you. And thank you so much.
Everyone. My name is Jim Englert. I live next door to Dave. And the tennis court area is exactly in my backyard. And the poles that you're talking about putting in are going to be about where that yellow line is, from the fence to my backyard. And there's 14 poles, I believe, is what the number was. And they're going to be over 20 feet tall.
Not all 14,
Not
but
all
some
of
of
them.
them, yes, but some.
Okay, not all of them.
But yes, some
But
of them,
6 or 8 of them are going to be over
Correct.
20 feet tall with pulleys and ropes also. Now, I've lived in that house where I am right now. I'm there 64 years. I have 3 children that graduated Lynbrook. I graduated Lynbrook. My wife graduated Lynbrook. I even have 2 grandchildren that are attending school in Lynbrook now. And with the tennis courts were installed in there and everything, years ago, the reason that it's a mess now is because Lynbrook never maintained it. It was just a mess, and the grounds, you just didn't want to maintain that. But that's irrelevant. None of the neighbors really complained about that, and we let it go. And they had to lock the gate and close it off because of all the kids. And we had problems with all the kids climbing on the fence and trying to break into, I have a big garage there, tried to break into the windows on my garage. And in the afternoon, they had then they replaced that with basketball court back there. And in the afternoon, sitting by the swimming pool with my children and stuff, the kids are back there playing, and every word in the book was used constantly with all them playing back there. But eventually, because of all the problems, people, I guess, closed it up and just locked the gate. But now I see there's going to be no fence to even block in what you're going to be putting up. It's going to be all open, and the kids can all congregate back there later on.
It's going to be enclosed.
And it's going to be a gate there with a lock on the gate?
Yes, it's going to be closed.
Because there's no fence there.
Not currently, because it needs to after the installation.
Okay.
And then the other thing I wanted to, you raise a good point about after school. This is an instructional space, so it is used by phys ed classes only.
I understand, but it's just, an eyesore. And it's even, been referred to that by Jim Seta himself. I talked to him today. I talked to him. My other neighbor even called him today. And really, no one's really happy about it. And as far as the drainage go, that you move the old one out of there because of the pump, there's also going to be drainage in that area what we're talking about where those poles are going in the tennis court area. Is that correct?
I have to check on that.
I believe they're going to put drainage in there also, which we never had a problem with drainage with the field or anything back there at all, ever.
I'll have to check on that.
That's just, it's an eyesore. We really don't want it. It's going to really deteriorate my property the way it's going to look. And I know it's for school and stuff for the kids, but it's just not, we're not happy about it. And if you could just find another place to put that, or I know you want the grant money. So that's part of it also. Is that correct?
This is with bond money.
Bond money. Oh, okay. So what was it originally? Why was that taken care of originally? I mean, built like that originally? Was it a bond or for a grant? Was that a grant?
15,
Isn't
20 years ago?
Isn't that a military type of thing?
That was...
No, Project Adventure is a cooperation type team building activity that our physical education teachers in the high school use. So they've been, the existing one was the area that Dr. Lynch had mentioned before, where there's actually an indoor Project Adventure course in the other side of this gym, so they do inside and outside activities. So I want to say it's a good maybe 18 years that it's been here in the high school, and we just moved the location. And and I'll apologize if you weren't aware of it and you feel that it's deteriorating. I think in our mind we thought, and perhaps this is what Mr. Sater was saying, the old overgrown tennis courts, that was an eyesore, because who wants to look at those weeds that were overgrowing and everything?
Not a problem.
So we thought we were actually enhancing it, that it was actually going to be an instructional space. Kids are only going to be in there supervised by the physical education teachers, and maybe, if you were under the impression there wasn't going to be a fence, it has to be fenced, because it has to be proper supervised, because it's a liability. So we have trained physical education teachers who are going to be
separate the whole, like the tennis court was all blocked off. That's how that's going to
Yes,
be
yes.
boxed in like
Yeah,
the tennis court
absolutely.
was with the fence.
Absolutely.
Yes, you're saying. Yeah, it's just that it's an eyesore in my backyard, and I'm going to have look like Verizon is in my backyard, is what it's going to appear to be. And none of the neighbors are happy. Over here, whatever happened where it was before, you only had one commercial person or whatever to bother, not to see it. But now you're going to have 8 to 10 backyards, people in their backyards. There's a lot of people involved seeing this and being, not happy with it either. So I'm the first. They don't know about it yet. So I just found out because I look and I see all the survey marks and I see all the flags out, and I called Jim Seta, and he told me at the time it was just going to be grass.
That's what it's all gonna be. It's gonna be nothing back there. And so everything was fine. So no one said a word to me. We didn't hear anything about it. I even talked to Jim maybe a month ago, and he just said it still was gonna be a grass area. And I found, today I called him and I asked him about why is the flags all out there all marked off, and then he told me. And that's what he said, monstrosity, that's what the word was used. Yes, we're gonna put that monstrosity up in that area. That's what he said, that's his words. So, that's the word, that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna put a monstrosity back there, behind 10 homes that come around there that can see that. And that's, no one's happy. All right, thank you for hearing me. I like to complain, so, all right, thank you. By the way, I only lived there 64 years. Okay. Also, the fence that you installed is up backwards. You have the fence on the school side. The finished side has to go on the outside of the fence.
That particular neighbor actually asked that we do that, and we were trying to be good neighbors so that he sees the better side of the fence.
How can you see the better side of the fence? To look through at the poles? But it's still not right. It's not legal because my kids grandkids can get up on the fence on the bar and climb up on the fence. Well, you need the finished side, and it should be finished on the side. That's not the.
Remember, you witnessed it too.
in a
They're
permit
putting it
that
in
put
the
up
other
a
way.
fence, right?
Yeah,
You understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
Okay, but that should be fixed also because that's it's not right.
Hence the code of the building that you all know about the installation of fencing inside, outside, property side.
I'm sure you're all aware of it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
In that there is no more public comment, moving on with the meeting, we have one sympathy resolution this evening for Helen Shannon. Whereas the members of the Board of Education of the Lynbrook Union Free School District have learned with sorrow of the recent passing of Helen Shannon, former stenographer for the Lynbrook School District. And whereas Helen Shannon served as stenographer for 15 years, from 1982 through 1997 at Lynbrook High School. And whereas the Board of Education is mindful of the contributions made to our district by Helen Shannon during her years of service to our community. Be it resolved that the Board of Education records its sorrow, its sympathy, and the esteem in which Helen Shannon was held. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the family of Helen Shannon with the hope that they will find solace and comfort in the rich heritage of good works for which she is remembered and revered. We have a few donations this evening. A First Act trumpet and case valued at $150 from Geraldine Becker. That instrument will be assigned to the North Middle School band inventory. A donation of 3 tables valued at approximately $5,000 to be used at Marion Street for the Marion Street PTA. A donation in the amount of $2,435 from Lynbrook High School PTA to be used for the purchase of a display case at the Lynbrook High School. A second place award in the amount of $1,500 from the Long Island Spring Sports Heroes Challenge to the High School Key Club, and 300 assorted masks with filters valued at $1,500 from the Harry Koenig and Company. Moving on to consent agenda, I'd like to ask for a consent agenda on resolutions 2107C1 through 2107C13, 2107NC1 through 2107NC17, and 2107G1 through 2107. May I have a motion, please? Mrs. Marcus, second. Mrs. Danino. All in favor? May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Mrs. Danino. Mr. Murray, you're going to put your hand up? I'll get your name in the record, buddy. There you go. Mr. Murray. May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? All in favor? Here we go. That concludes our meeting. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Stay safe and healthy.